day, everyone. We are now here in Module 10 of Quarter 2. Ang ating subject is Introduction to World Religions and Belief System. What I am going to talk about now is a continuation of what we have discussed last meeting, which was last Tuesday. If I'm not mistaken, that was last Tuesday. So we have talked about Mahayana Buddhism. So in our past lesson, we have talked about the life of Siddhartha Gautama. Then we have talked about some of the doctrines and belief systems of Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, so now let's move on to this lesson. We are going to talk about the worship and observances of this religion. Buddhism integrates an assortment of religious practices and devotional rituals with the objective of aiding worshippers in the journey toward enlightenment and in bringing blessings to each one. So napag-alaman naman natin last meeting that uh, the central belief system of Mahayana Buddhism or the Buddhism religion itself is the attainment of the individuals through enlightenment. Okay, so next, in Buddhist temples, they pray and chant to pay their respect to Buddhas and Buddhist sattvas, such as Avalokitesvara, Manju, Manjushri, and Amitabha. Okay. They also offer vegetarian food and light incense to pay homage to these important divine beings. So, during the rituals, they offer food and mayroon silang mga alay. Okay? So, the lotus that symbolizes purity, the eight spoke wheels that represents the Dharma, and the different hand gestures or the mudras are important symbols for Mahayana Buddhism. Okay? So, now let's talk about the subdivisions of this religion. They have the Pure Land sect. Okay, the Pure Land sect. So this sect began in India around the second century BCE, spread to China by the second century CE, and then it reached to Japan around 6th century CE. Pag-alaman naman natin talaga before in our past lesson that Buddhism really originated in India. So when believers die, it is their objective to live in the pure land of the West, or they call it Sukhavati. So I think in some other religions, they also believe in something na after they die, their souls should go to heaven. Di ba? Yun naman talaga ang paniniwala natin. But for them, they believe that their soul will go to the pure land of the West. By simply reciting the name of Amitabha with utmost attentiveness many times during the day, they may be reborn in this paradise where they can work to achieve enlightenment much easier. Okay? So si Amataba kasi is siya yung isa sa mga gods na namamahala doon. So Amitabha, the god who supervises over the Western paradise, is the focus of this sect. O, di ba? Tulad nung sinabi ko kanina, siya yung nakafocus, siya yung tagapagbantay sa madaling sabi sa paradise na yon. Once in Sokavati, people can experience the delight in hearing Amitabhas teach the Dharma in preparation for their entry to Nirvana. Okay? So, yung pangalawa naman is the intuitive sects. Okay? These sects emphasize the salvation, which is personal matter, and one cannot receive assistance from these entities, such as another person or intuition, to realize the inner thoughts of religion. So, in short, most elements of this religion, like from scriptures, the temples, statues, prayers, and rituals, are not essential to achieve enlightenment. Hindi daw ito mga essentials. Bakit? We will learn later. An individual may be spiritually enlightened by a sudden spark of insights, either through meditation or even by accident, beyond words or thoughts. Parang kusa na lang ma-attain mo yung enlightenment. You don't need anything like scriptures, like temples and so on and so forth to attain enlightenment. So iba yung paniniwala nila. Modern European thinkers have been attracted to Zen Buddhism because of its concept on simplicity and intuitive inspiration. So number three naman, they call it like rationalist sect. So a rationalist Buddhist school of thought called Gentai emerged around the 6th century CE, with its name originating from a mountain in southern China or southeastern China, where its founder Ji or Jie lived. Jie emphasized that acts of studying and contemplation were both vital for spiritual enlightenment. So kakaiba rin ang kanilang paniniwala. To attain enlightenment, they have to meditate. They have to study the like for example as the Bible and contemplation na rin. So apart from instructions on the scriptures and silent meditation, other means to reach this goal include mystical communion with the eternal, ascetic discipline, meritorious deeds, and simple faith in the mercy of the Buddha. So it's like attaining karma. Okay. And number four is the socio-political sect. This is a Japanese Buddhist monk by the name Nichiren Daishonin, who lived during the 13th century during the Kamakura period, began to teach the path towards attaining enlightenment rested solely on the devotion to Lotus Sutra. So Nichiren Buddhism teaches that individual must take responsibility to enhance themselves, or what is called human revolution, and in turn to improve the world's lot. Okay? So, iba rin yung kanyang paniniwala dito. So, every individual, every Buddhist must take responsibility for themselves, or kahit human revolution pa. So enlightenment is accessible to every individual on earth simply by opening one's inherent Buddha nature in this world. So a scripture scholar and an activist, Nichiren himself is considered a Buddha. Kaya medyo may pagka-activist yung kanyang approach ng paniniwala because he is an activist. Okay? Nichiren taught that he alone understood Buddhist truth. Wala nang iba. He believed that other Buddhist sects in Japan were corrupting the people towards hell. So, yung ibang mga sekta daw ng religion sa Japan, parang they are the reason why these people were dragged into hell. Okay? So, Tibetan Buddhism. So, this is a Tibetan Buddhism is a religion in exile, forced from its homeland when Tibet was conquered by the Chinese. At one time, it was thought that one in six Tibetan men were Buddhist monks. The best known face of Tibetan Buddhist is Dalai Lama, who has lived in exile in India since he fled Chinese occupation of his country in 1959. Kaya yun na nga, nagtatag ito ng religion sa Tibet at siya ang namuno. Tibetan Buddhism combines the essential teachings of Mahayana Buddhism with tantric and shamanic and material from ancient Tibetan religion called Bon. So, those are the five subdivisions of Buddhism. So, now let's move on to issues related to this religion. We have one, the Tibet Invasion. Tibet practically enjoyed some degree of independence as none of the claimants pressed their claim. In 1950, however, China annexed Tibet and negotiated the so-called 17-point agreement with the government of the 14th Dalai Lama. Pero pumayag kaya sa Dalai Lama dito? Ayan. Rejected repeatedly by the Dalai Lama, this document confirmed China's authority over Tibet, but the area was granted autonomy. So actually, Dalai Lama did not like the offer. So anong nangyari kay Dalai Lama? With the implementation of Mao Zedong's another aside from yung nangyari noon ng mga Chinese that they want to annex the Tibet from China, another one happened. Like for example, Mao Zedong's Great Leap Forward. Ito yung panahon sa China. From 1958 to 1961, or China's Economic Zone campaign to transform the country into socialist society between 200,000 to 1 million Tibetans tragically met their death. Medyo maging marahas dito si Mao Zedong. By the way, what happened to Dalai Lama? Umalis siya sa Tibet at that time kasi ayaw nga niya ng pamumuno ng China. Iniwan niya yung Tibet. Then another invasion happened at yun na nga sa pamumuno ni Mao Zedong na medyo marahas yung kanyang pamumuno. Araw-araw may mamatay na mga monks sa Tibet. Lahat ng mga nagdi-disagree kay Mao Zedong. So, ayan, presently, the Dalai Lama has been continuously visiting other countries, preaching a message of hope and peace. So, yun ang naging trabaho ni Dalai Lama. Engaged activism. Ritual suicides led by Buddhist monks have transpired in the 20th century as a form of protest to governmental actions sa panahon ni Mao Zedong. So mayroon silang mga silent protest ng mga Buddhists sa Tibet. So for example, a crisis occurred between two Buddhists and the South Vietnamese government led by Ngo Dinh Diem. In 1960s, Ngo Dinh Diem in the 1960s that had tremendous effect in politics, militancy, and religious tolerance. Okay? So, eventually the regime lost support from the US and an army coup brought down Diem. Amid the religious protest and nonviolent struggle, Diem was assassinated in 1963. Okay? So, now, if you are listening and watching this video presentation, I have here an assessment. But for my students, just follow the instructions. But for those watching this video right now, you can comment your answers in the comment sections of this video. Okay? So the directions is, on the next slide are the jumbled words about the tin boomies meaning. Remember, we have discussed this last week. find out what the word is and write it on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, again, for my students, you just have to follow this instruction, then submit this to me via Messenger. And for those who are watching, you may also answer. You can arrange the jumble words and then comment your answers on the chat box, the comment section of this video. So here's the jumbled letters. There are 1 to 10 jumbled letters, and I already gave answer number 1 for a sample. Okay, like for example, for number 1, there's a jumbled letters there, and the answer is joyful. Okay, so yon, uh, you finish answering from number 2 to number 10. So, by the way, if you have questions, you may ask directly to me via Messenger to my students in Humss. And for those who are watching, you may comment down below your questions and your answers. Okay? So, by the way, this is all for now. I see you again next week. Bye, everyone.